We need to fine-tune the balance between inclusivity and excellence, between broad goals and focused impact, and between collaboration and coherence. There's a lot to celebrate, but there's a lot to work on. Welcome back to the Insider Roundup. Brussels is waking up from its summer pause and the stakes are higher than ever. In this edition, we're concentrating on the final reports that will shape Horizon Europe's next chapter, offering insights that go beyond the headlines. Plus, a preview of what's coming from our chair, Inês Lynce, as she reflects on the essence of research freedom. In her latest editorial for the Insider newsletter, Inês points directly to the heart of what draws us to research, the profound sense of freedom it offers. She reflects on how this freedom, the autonomy to explore, innovate, and uncover new knowledge, often exists in tension with the structured agendas set by funding bodies. This tension, especially felt in fundamental or blue sky research, highlights the delicate balance researchers must strike between pursuing their intellectual passions and aligning with broader societal goals. But rather than viewing this as a conflict, she challenges us to see it as an opportunity to expand our understanding of scientific freedom so that it not only serves our curiosity, but also addresses the pressing issues of our time, from climate change to technological transformation. Inês also emphasizes the critical role of science communication in bridging the gap between research and society. She argues that researchers have a responsibility to make the work accessible and understandable to both the public and policymakers, ensuring that knowledge we generate has a tangible impact on the world around us. By improving how we communicate our findings, we can, of course, reinforce the public good that science serves and demonstrate that scientific inquiry and public policy need not be in opposition. Instead, they can work in tandem, guiding Europe towards a future where innovation and sustainability go hand in hand. For a deeper dive into these thought-provoking insights, be sure to read the full editorial in the Insider newsletter. Talking about the Insider newsletter, on the previous edition, we analyzed the EU's significant advances in high-performance computing, HPC, and artificial intelligence. As a timely follow-up, the recent Euro-HPC joint undertaking announcement for a call for proposals could not have come at a better time. This initiative will cater to research domains, industry R&D, and public sector applications that demand substantial computing resources. The Euro-HPC joint undertaking also has provided a comprehensive timeline on LinkedIn for various access modes, ensuring transparency and broad participation. This week will be a momentous week, according to Mettler on LinkedIn, and she is right. Not only because holidays will be officially over for most of Europe, but mainly because Draghi is foreseen to deliver his report on European competitiveness. Anne uses an article by Politico as a basis for some very important and timely comments. Anne could not be more to the point when arguing about the conditions for competitiveness in Europe. She talks fearlessly about preferential treatment of EU companies in the EU. This one is so obvious, outrageous, that we needed a populist crisis to debate this argument openly. It is actually telling of our close-mindedness sometimes. But my favorite two key ideas or arguments she makes and thinks should be in the Draghi report are: don't think Europe in Europe, but Europe in the world. We have shrunk to only 17% of the global economy, she says. And as a result, we have to find a way to better position ourselves and tap into the growing markets outside of the EU, including the EIB, which is forced to primarily invest in a shrinking market. And our competition policy has to finally view companies through global prism, not only a member state perspective. An argument that I could not be more in agreement with. Yes, and yes, we can, and not only companies, but by extension also research and innovation programming funding. we are still locked in our small-minded Westphalian nation-statehood, and sometimes we seem to lose the capacity to see beyond our political walls. And then Anne says, don't only think private sector, but public sector. It's half of the economy. And in relation to this, I can only quote her again. And she says, I understand that an individual consumer might decide based on price, but I expect better of our public policy establishment, which knows that in this geopolitical context, what seems cheaper in the short run might be immeasurably expensive in the long term. I have yet to see even an effort of a more sophisticated and comprehensive cost-benefit calculation, as we lose industry after industry and dependencies to autocracies grow exponentially. But in this edition, I also want to shift focus to an intriguing intersection of policy and funding. Early access to innovative antivirals. Originally published in Science Business during the quieter summer months, the article highlights the financial significance of bringing antiviral therapeutics to market swiftly. What's fascinating here isn't just the medical advancements, but the proposed funding model rooted in advanced market commitments. Essentially, this is a financial framework that resembles a futures market. This model promises mutual benefits. Researchers gain much needed risk capital, and society benefits from accessible, affordable treatments. However, the success of such a model depends on convincing the pharmaceutical industry, which traditionally bears the brunt of the financial risk in drug development. The proposal is ambitious and could serve as a blueprint, I would say not just for the pharma sector, but for other industries facing similar challenges. A quick note following our previous Roundup podcast, where we have signaled some of the aspects of the EU positioning towards China's rise as a scientific and technology producer. David Matthews of Science Business wrote an article reporting the conclusions of Berlin-based Mercator Institute for China Studies, MERICS. MERICS has raised the alarm that China has an increasingly sprawling set of tools to stop technology flowing out of its borders as the country moves from a follower to a global innovation leader. End of quote. The article basically reports on the policy tit-for-tat between China, the US, and the EU, which is, again, this latter one, the EU, portrayed as a follower of the US policy. David writes that the Dutch company ASML, for example, which makes world-leading semiconductor manufacturing machines, has blocked the export of some of its leading kit to China following US pressure. End of quote. And he then goes on to quote the report's author, saying that the EU basically does not understand technology innovation. I personally think this is a harsh assessment, which decontextualizes the EU way of thinking and doing. The argument in the German Institute's report rests on a direct comparison of two different models and implies that only one is right and possible. This is, again, a step towards confrontation and adds nothing constructive. Europe knows how to innovate. It just needs a lot of nudges, but it operates. The main argument here is that Europe operates under a different model of capitalism than the US and China. And the sooner we acknowledge, accept, and valorize this, where we are, what we built, the better. In fact, the thread of articles in Science Business this week is quite telling. When seen together, the article I just mentioned comes next to one on how the US New Secure Center could be a model for Germany to follow, and another on how 13 million euros cut threat Germany's international scientific collaborations. In fact, this is great reporting from Science Business. It just confirms what I argued last week, that we're seeing a shift where necessary caution might be veering into the territory of isolationism, and that's a dangerous path for global science. And then we have some studies that have been just published by the European Commission, and they have been written by a number of external experts. And those are 3 studies on Horizon Europe. The first study on Horizon 2020 was, if I'm not mistaken, already published in 2023. Now, a number of studies are coming out on this interim evaluation of Horizon Europe. So First up, we've got the evaluation study on Innovative Europe. And this is a mixed bag of news. The European Innovation Council has been making waves, particularly with its Accelerator and Pathfinder programs, which are driving some truly groundbreaking innovations. But here's the kicker. Despite all the hype, the success rate for applications is still shockingly low, around 6.4% of DIC's Accelerator second phase. Sure, the blended finance model is bridging gaps for deep tech startups, but is it really democratizing innovation? Or are we just reinforcing a system where only the most resource-rich, well-connected players will succeed? We need to ask ourselves, is the EIC doing enough to be inclusive? The report hints at the need for better coordination among EU instruments like the EIC, EIT, and the European innovation ecosystems. But the reality is that fragmentation still plagues these initiatives. We're seeing missed opportunities for synergy, which begs the question, are we maximizing the potential of Horizon Europe, or are we just running in circles? Next, let's look at the Horizon Europe and the Green Transition Report. Here's where things get interesting. The alignment with the European Green Deal is strong. I mean, no surprise here. The European Green Deal is so broad. 90% of the projects are tied directly to green transition goals. That's impressive, but let's not pat ourselves on the back just yet. The report throws up some red flags, particularly about the broad scope of calls within Cluster 5 and 6. It's great to cover all bases, but we're spreading ourselves too thin. There's a risk of diluting impact, especially when we consider the long-term targets like emissions reductions. Are these ambitions goals achievable within the current broad brush strategy that we're applying? Finally, let's talk about the evaluation support study on Horizon Europe's contribution to a resilient Europe. Now, this one covers the three clusters, health, culture and creativity, and civil security. The good news is these clusters are on track, adapting well to evolving challenges, whether it's the ongoing health crisis or the ever-present threats of cybersecurity. But here's the thing. The report makes it clear that while these clusters are effective, there's still a lot of room for improvement, particularly in how we exploit synergies across different clusters and programs. I mean, there's something similar here across all these three reports in this demand for synergies. The potential is there, but are we really capitalizing on it? Well, the report suggests that we are not. We're still seeing unexploited synergies and inefficiencies in the proposal and selection processes. And yes, the success rates are better than they were in Horizon 2020, but the process remains a bureaucratic labyrinth that's tough to navigate, according to the authors, especially for smaller players. I know that is true for smaller players. I know that the Commission is doing a hell of a job along its executive agencies. But this is a classic case of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So where does this leave us? Well, Horizon Europe is undoubtedly a powerhouse for innovation. But these reports remind us that power needs to be wielded wisely. And I hope that the group responsible for providing the recommendations for the future is really wielding this power wisely. We need to fine-tune the balance between inclusivity and excellence, between broad goals and focused impact, and between collaboration and coherence. There's a lot to celebrate, but there's a lot to work on. Now, to finalize today's episode, something different. The Commission just opened a call for nominations for the group of scientific advisors. This group is a key part of the Scientific Advice Mechanism, SAM. Their role is to provide high-quality, timely and independent scientific advice to the College of European Commissions on any subject, including on policy issues that the European Parliament and the Council consider to be of major importance. This development is a procedural update. And it is also a crucial opportunity for Europe to strengthen the bridge between cutting-edge research and impactful policymaking. The call for nominations is especially timely, as the EU is facing the increasingly complex challenges that we all know that require scientific expertise, innovative, and, above all, interdisciplinary approaches. Areas where institutions like, for example, the UNESCO institutes have consistently demonstrated leadership. The selection of advisors who can contribute to this process is absolutely crucial. Candidates will need to showcase a profound ability to integrate diverse scientific insights into actionable policies. This is particularly relevant in domains such as technology-driven innovation, sustainable energy systems, digital transformation, all of which are critical to the EU's strategic objectives. These are not exhaustive, of course, but I'm just mentioning some that I know that will ring deep bells and within Inês researchers. Now, for organizations and individuals contributing to this process, the focus should be on how their expertise can help navigate the intersection of science, technology, and policy. No surprise here. It's about demonstrating a capacity to foresee the broader societal impacts of scientific developments and to communicate these insights effectively to policymakers. This is extremely important and not as easy as it seems. Honestly, not as easy as it seems. Sometimes it is not enough to be a very good scientist to be able to do good policy or to communicate good policy to policymakers. So this aligns with the mission of institutions that are committed to advancing knowledge through research and ensuring that this knowledge serves the public good, because these people who are being nominated in their particular name within a personal capacity, they need to have a network, institutions behind them that will help them serve the public good. This call is, in fact, an invitation to shape the future of Europe through science and innovation. By bringing forward nominees who understand the strategic importance of research and innovation-driven policy, the EU can ensure that its decisions are informed by the most advanced and integrated scientific advice available. This is a moment that is a golden moment to reaffirm the role of science in guiding Europe towards a sustainable and technological advanced future, reflecting the strengths of organizations that lead in research and innovation across Europe and are particularly well positioned to provide an encompassing vision. That's all for today. Thank you all. Obrigado, and until the next episode.
The Insider Roundup newsletter is your bi-weekly essentials on research and innovation, offering a broader perspective to help you stay ahead of the curve. Stay updated with a concise summary of the key news and insights in EU research and innovation. The Insider Roundup newsletter is available exclusively to subscribers. Join the Roundup now